Good morning, guys. It's Evelyn from Twin Flames 3344. My guides gave me a little bit of a lesson in the Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine 3D, 4D, 5D within my union spread here this morning that you see in front of you. So I wanted to share that with you. And it's based all on the ions, the cation and anion, or anion. Okay, so bear with me. It starts out like a union read, but it's really a lesson for you guys. So I hope you stay tuned. It's really quick. So this was done at 9:02 this morning. It is the union read, but as I said, it progressed into a lesson for us. The underlying energy here is the indigo right there, and I will show you an overhead before I go. The indigo proposes a diamond, the impish boy, and the imp came up yesterday. The underlying energy coming into the union read, which is the feminine energy coming in, the divine masculine going out. This vertically is the feminine, the bridge between, and the masculine, and then this is 3D, 4D, and 5D, okay? So the underlying divine feminine, as we come in from the Seven of Flames, is the Seven of Wands, the solar deity, the sun, and the Five of Wands. The divine feminine rising to tango, exposing in full energy all to expand, +1. And you notice here, there's 3 flames and the number 7, so 37 was coming up, but also +1 because there's another flame in her hand. So remember that, because that comes back later. So 37 + 1 is the King of Cups +1, which is the Queen of Cups, right? So the divine feminine rising to tango, exposing all at full energy to expand, +1. The 3D is the 8 of Cups, 9 of Cups, and the Page of Swords at the top there. The divine feminine walking away and within to get their wish, and self-happiness, self-satisfaction, that 9 of Cups. And then he, the Page of Swords, he messages. At the 4D, with the Empress or abundance, the higher self in the middle, and then the Chariot on the masculine side, the divine feminine in her abundance as the Empress, in her higher self in the middle, because remember, you are each other's higher self, so you naturally in the 4D come into each other's higher self. The abundance of the feminine in higher self to the divine masculine's Chariot, ascending fast in higher self as he comes over. So as you two anchor the 4D more, it becomes your every moment, the more likely the masculine is to drive over, as opposed to just message. So it's about your vibrational frequency and rising up to the 4D to ground the 4D, and that's when the union comes together on the bridge. The 5D is the 2 of Swords, 10 of Cups, and the Knight of Swords. The divine feminine in her knowing is emotionally fulfilled. The divine masculine is sending 5D messages, and this bridges between them with the 10 of Cups, which is complete emotional fulfillment. So that naturally comes in the 5D. The divine feminine walks away and within with the abundant Empress in her knowing without seeing. So by the time she gets to the 5D, she doesn't need to see because she knows. Walking away and within in the 3D, right? Abundant Empress in the 4D, right? Allowing her inner abundance to show, and in her knowing without seeing in the 5D. The bridge being self-satisfaction, the 9 of Cups, the higher self in the 4D, and then emotional fulfillment in the 5D of the 10 of Cups, because the family is the collective consciousness. The divine masculine is sending a message as the 3D, Page of Swords, and then driving over in the 4D, or traveling together in higher self via 5D messages in the 5D. So closing out as we go out of the read is the masculine energy here, the alchemy of unconditional love of the page, and Spirit's connecting with me, of unconditional love of the Page of Wands, masked boy with flame inside. So when we talk about this card here, sorry you can't see these very well. I can just turn this a little bit. Okay, so this guy here, all right, is the Page of Flames in the SIRIAN Starseed deck. And so he often comes up as the masked boy, right, needing to take his mask off. And he's got lots of worshipers, right, female worshipers. So it's very representative. but he's the masked boy with the flame inside, right? It's there, he knows it, but he's disguising himself. But in this read, the masculine's going out as alchemy, and then the unconditional love of the King of Cups, and then this is the final card of the Page of Flames. So it's changing its meaning a little bit here, which was very cool as we go into the lesson from this. So the alchemy of unconditional love of the Page of Wands, masked boy with the flame inside. His mask is on, so he won't use his eyes to see, can only recognize who's worshiping him, can only feel their presence to the divine feminine flame, right? Their divine other. So the central energy is the higher self, right? Smack in the middle of the read, right? Because that's the key to everything, your higher self. The 3D is the Nine of Cups because that's emotional fulfillment, self-fulfillment, whereas in the 5D, it's the 10 of Cups, the family fulfillment, right? So it's naturally what is good for everybody is good for you. Whereas in the 3D, we start in the 3D focusing on our self-love so that we can raise our vibration, right? To self-satisfaction being alone. Because once you're satisfied alone, how can you ever fall? Because you're fine alone. So no matter what happens, you're fine with yourself. In your connection with your higher self, you learning to connect to higher self. And then from higher self to the collective consciousness or the Christ consciousness, which is above all. Okay? So the 9 of Cups is the self-alignment in the 3D. And then as we get into 4D, we're more regularly in our higher self. And then the 10 of Cups is the family, the collective consciousness, the Christ consciousness, the soul group, the monad, the fulfillment, the whole enchilada they were giving me. So the 3D emotions are heavy, so go more into swords to keep things light. In other words, manipulation of your thoughts. And the 4D is the power, because there's all majors in the 4D here, all majors of the divine feminine inner abundance and the divine masculine's drive. And remember, it's the masculine and the feminine within each of us. When the divine feminine is Cation, they are naturally abundant inside. So here, look at the demonstration for the ions, okay? So we have, this is a negative charge and this is a positive charge because you see the Cation, they're very strong on the inside, which is the feminine, right? Naturally in the 3D. The masculine's more superficial, right? They're strong on the outside, but they have a negative charge, but you don't see that because you see the superficial. For the feminine, you see the inside of her, the compassion. So keep that in mind as I go on. And you notice here, the Cation, which has, it's positively charged because it has less ions, or less electrons. So think of the electrons as superficial and the protons as the inside, right? So if you have a lot of electrons around you because you're very popular, you attract a lot of 3D, right? But not so much in the 4 and 5D, okay? So if you're Cation, you're happy because in this 3D, or excuse me, you're happy because you're actually fulfilled within. Whereas this looks like you're happy on the outside, but you're actually like this within. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go on here. So, like I said, in 3D, the emotions are heavy, so go into your swords to keep things light, learning to manipulate your thoughts to the positive end, erring to the positive. The 4D, the power that all majors, the divine feminine inner abundance of the Empress and the divine masculine's drive of the Chariot. When the divine feminine is Cation, naturally abundant inside because she has more protons, okay, and less electrons on the outside. So you would think that she's positively charged because she's hungry still, right? So if you have less electrons on the outside, you want more electrons, right? You want more people around you. So there's a positive charge there because you need something to be filled. Whereas the negative charge is when you have too many electrons. It's like being stuffed. You're full. You don't need any more electrons. You got plenty of friends. That's that superficial popular energy. But they're not fulfilled inside. The feminine is the Cation, naturally abundant inside with the positive protons and okay without friends. The divine masculine is the anion, is more, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but the anion is more superficial inside with a lot of electrons and superficial and popular. When the Divine Feminine shows her abundance in the 4D, it can be seen by the Divine Masculine, and then he gets excited as the Empress. So don't dim your light, feminines, in the 3D as Empress energy, because you're never really Empress in the 3D, right? Because that automatically puts you up to 4D. Don't dim your light in the 3D to lower yourself to his superficial level. The Empress is the Empress because she vibrates at a higher frequency than others in the 3D. She vibrates at the 4D. Others hold her respect because even though they are popular, she doesn't concede to their popularity at a 3D level. Only if they rise to her level, then they see her beauty. Lacking friends, Spirit's connecting with me the whole time, lacking friends in the 3D because she lives in 4D, the Empress, a higher calling, a higher love. So the 7 of solar, so the message here going from the feminine coming in and the masculine going out is the 7 of solar, 5 of flames, Reiki Master of seeker of flames. So the feminine within the masculine of the solar flares, right? So the feminine is the 1 of the solar flares. Remember my pin example, how the safety pin, when it's open and points to the sun, that's when the feminine is charging. The sun charges in through the pin's tip, goes into the bottom of the pin where, there's 2 loops at the bottom of the pin. One is the loop of the feminine, the second loop is the masculine going into the back of the pin, which is the masculine energy, which then draws the pin closed into that vacuum as he's full. And then as he discharges his energy, the pin then falls open again from the housing. And then that's time for the feminine to collect again, just like going to the gas station. So the feminine within the masculine of solar flares, right, because she collects the solar flares, and the Reiki Masters being student of flares. So the Reiki in 3D can literally be a masculine who has alcohol issues or some kind of other addiction issues. But the Reiki in the 5D is the alchemist. All right, so the Reiki Masters being the student of flares, or the sun that the feminine collects. The feminine is the 3D steering the Divine Masculine, the 4D indigo, and the 5D expansion, whereas the masculine is perhaps the alcoholic or someone with addictions in 3D, the alchemist or the indigo also in 4D, so they're both indigos in 4D along with their higher selves, which makes sense because they're one and the same, and then in the 5D he becomes the alchemist. The 3D Divine Masculine leads by war. The 3D Divine Feminine leads by compassion. In the 3D, war is respected, but compassion is not respected, okay? Not by the powers that be. The 4D Divine Masculine leads by drive and inspiration. The 4D Divine Feminine leads by open heart policy, right? She's always kind and good. The 5D Divine Masculine leads by 5D messages, higher communication, that higher love, and takes action by it. The 5D Divine Feminine leads by knowing, instinct, always balanced. She is the proton, he the electron, and both are neutron based. And then I'm getting Jimmy Neutron, cracks me up. So the Divine Feminine leads by knowing, instinct, and always balanced gracefully. While the Divine Feminine rises above the drama, the Divine Masculine alchemizes. The Divine Feminine, full energy, receiving light from the sun. The Divine Masculine is unconditionally loving as the King of Cups with his eye on her. Because you see here, he's only got one eye showing, keeping his eye on her, his source of energy, the sun. The Divine Feminine expands too much fire. When that happens, like the 5 of Wands here, when she gets too much fire, because the 5 of Flames is conflict or expansion, the Divine Masculine takes away 1. Remember at the beginning of this, I told you it's the King of Cups plus 1? Well, here's the takeaway, the -1. As she expands too much fire, the masculine takes away 1 to cool her fire, holding it deep within as she kisses his feet and says, thank you, thank you, thank you, right, for taking away her burden, for helping me to carry my load. Always 5 as opposed to 10 wands, which kills the masculine in the 3D. At this level in the 5D, you never get to the 10 because you always stay at the 5 minus 1 to the 4, staying at the 3 to 4 level, always even. He holds space and grace. She gives good face, Vogue, vogue, vogue. So with the safety pin, she naturally receives the solar light energy for both of them, the 5 flames being the full load or the full tank of gas. So the Page of Wands takes 1 flame at a time, but when the Divine Feminine hasn't been out in the sun in a while, having fun, she gets depleted. So 3 to 4 flames is the perfect level, right? The 3 of Wands to the 4 of Wands, the being present and the being in union, is the perfect level. But if she gets down to 2 flames, the two of Wands, she must choose a new path and start again. If she gets down to 1 flame, perhaps a walk-in. And if she gets down to 0 flames, she passes. All right? So 0 flames, you die. So this is about the feminine needing to keep balance in her life by having fun, making sure she always gets out in the sun, because literally the sun is her charge, her natural charge. Meditation too, of course, because then you're pulling in the source sun, but that doesn't it doesn't really hold you. It's not the same. Like, you need both. So it's calling the feminine to go outside and literally get more sun, and that you see what happens when you don't have any fun, right? So if you get down to 0 flames, you basically die or pass. If you get down to 1 flame, you're accepting a walk-in. And if you get down to 2, you may have to choose a new path with your masculine and like come together again. Like, that's that separation again. So it's very interesting how this came up. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. It was for me. And as always, I am going to show you the cards. And then I'm going to let you go. Okay. So this was that underlying energy of the indigo, the feminine coming in, okay, with the 7 of Wands, the sun, and the 5 of flames. Let's see if I can get it cleared a little bit better. Okay. And then we have the 3D. Okay, you see the feminine's on the left, masculine's on the right, and the bridge is between, just as I explained. And the same here for the 4D. You see they're all major arcanas, and the middle of the whole read is the higher self, which makes sense because you're both each other's higher self, so you'd be the same. And then we get the 5D of the 2 of Swords, the 10 of Cups in the middle, and then the Knight of Swords for the masculine. And going out of the read, then we have the Alchemy, the Master of Chalices or Cups, and then the Seeker of Flames here as the Alchemist, basically. Okay, so please let me know your thoughts. If you have anything to contribute as well, that would be great. Please do so in the comments. Love you guys. Rise and be loved. Bye.